Councilmember Leyva. Councilmember Greer.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hepperly.
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Here.
Mayor Palguda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would also like to note that Councilwoman Leyva's absence is excused. Her daughter is graduating high school tonight, so let's face it, folks, we'd rather be there than here, right? So, moving on, we'll do our invocation, and I would like to welcome down Chaplain Jerry Ferguson, please.
Almighty God, the creator of heaven and earth, we praise you for who you are and what you do to bless us. We thank you for the privilege we have of living here in Prescott Valley and for having a part in the relationships that make this community one that puts the people first in its decisions. We thank you for the wisdom you provide those in leadership as they seek to improve the quality of life here in our town. It is not by accident that we begin this meeting acknowledging your presence in our midst. As we approach Memorial Day, we thank you for those who paid the final price in protecting the freedom we have in serving you and trusting your strength as we continue to serve one another. We acknowledge that none of us are here by accident and that you have a purpose in using us to sharpen one another. May we, O God, value the uniqueness of each of us and what we bring to the table for discussion and action. Thank you for the natural resources you provide for us. We pray for wisdom in the use of those resources. Heavenly Father, thank you for teaching us how to pray. I invite us all to pray the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, item 3 will be our proclamations. First up will be the Wolfstock Proclamation for 2023.
Wolfstock Day. Whereas beginning on June 12, 2021, the town of Prescott Valley proclaimed and designated the second Saturday of June annually as Wolfstock Day. And whereas each year, thousands of animals in the Quad Cities area, as well as the state of Arizona, are left homeless and in need of loving homes. And whereas the Prescott Dog Magazine diligently covers the efforts of animal rescuers working with local shelters and rescue groups statewide, increasing awareness of the plight of homeless pets and those who care for them until their forever homes are found. And whereas the Prescott Dog Magazine has organized Prescott Valley's own Wolfstock and Adopt-a-thon for the past 12 years. And whereas our Wolfstock and Adopt-a-thon in Prescott Valley is the largest annual adoption event in Prescott Valley, drawing dog lovers from all over the state. And whereas Prescott Dog Magazine's Wolfstock and Adopt-a-thon has resulted in the adoption of more than 900 dogs since 2011. And whereas Prescott Dog Magazine would formally like to thank all of our sponsors for making this event a standard in Prescott Valley. And whereas Wolfstock and Adopt-a-thon request the second Saturday of June annually be celebrated as Wolfstock Day in the efforts of animal rescue and finding homes for homeless dogs. And whereas this year, in honor of the 12th anniversary of the Wolfstock and Adopt-a-thon adoption event, more than 55 organizations in the town of Prescott Valley will come together in support of the mission to find forever homes for deserving lovable dogs throughout our community and beyond, and provide education in responsible pet ownership. Now therefore, I, Kel Paguda, Mayor Prescott Valley, do hereby proclaim June 10th, 2023 as Woofstock Day and encourage all citizens to come together at the Prescott Valley Civic Center Amphitheater in support of homeless animals, help area rescues fulfill their mission, and possibly find a new forever friend. Thank you.
How wonderful. At just the right moment, the dog walks in. How do you make it go down? No, there we go. Got it. A few words? We'll see. Mayor, council, staff, my name is Sherry Dreves. I'm the publisher of Prescott Dog Magazine and the organizer for our hometown adoption event, Woofstock. Thank you for once again recognizing our annual adoption event by renewing your proclamation for Woofstock Day. This year, and my numbers are different now, we have more than 68 organizations that will all be on the field together here on June 10th. I'd like to thank our gracious host, the town of Prescott Valley, for the last 10 years and for their additional support this year. To all of you, my deepest thanks. I would also like to thank our generous sponsors and vendors who allow the event to continue year after year. Woofstock is a huge cooperative event, which is why I've brought a few friends with me this evening. First up is Liz Kennedy, our event coordinator. Liz represents our entire volunteer corps this evening. These are the guys and gals that make everything happen. Next is Pilar Henry. Pilar is a representative for more than 20 non-adoption nonprofits that encompass animals, family, and seniors that will all be attending Woofstock for free. And last but not least, Lori Walden from Yavapai Humane Society. Lori represents the 16 rescues that will all be attending Woofstock. Since we can't have everybody here tonight, I have a representative from each division of what we do. Lastly, I'd like to recognize two thank you, very special individuals. Heidi Dums Foster, who has taken on the extra duties of Woofstock this year, and my husband, David, who seems to make everything work out all right in the end. I invite all of you, everyone, I won't make you take a dog home, but I would love you to come to the 12th annual Woofstock and Adopt-a-thon, June 10th. Thank you very much.
One more time. Next up is Relay for Life, Chrissy Jones.
American Cancer Society Relay for Life Days, June 2nd and 3rd, 2023. Whereas the Relay for Life movement continues to be the largest peer-to-peer fundraising event, with 2.5 million participants globally uniting to save lives from cancer. And whereas Relay for Life of the Quad Cities is an opportunity to celebrate people who have been touched by cancer, remember loved ones lost, and take action for life-saving change. And whereas funds raised at Relay for Life events help the ACS fund and conduct breakthrough research and give cancer patients and their families the resources they need, like free rides to chemo, free places to stay near hospitals, and a live 24/7 helpline for answers and support. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kel Paguda, Mayor of the town of Prescott Valley, do hereby proclaim June 2nd and 3rd, 2023 as Relay for Life Days in the Quad Cities community. and encourage citizens to let their passion inspire them to join the Relay for Life movement by starting or joining a fundraising team, making a donation, or volunteering with the Relay for Life event at the Town of Prescott Valley Civic Center lawn on June 2nd, starting at 6 p.m.
Hi, so I'm Christy. I was the former event chair for many years, and so I know you're all probably tired of seeing my face up here. But we appreciate, in 2015, we made the decision to move the event from Prescott to Prescott Valley, and the town of Prescott Valley has been gracious enough. Weather prevented it the first year, we had to shift gears to the event center, but from 2016 on, we've held it here at the town of Prescott Valley, and I think it's undoubtedly one of the most beautiful venues we could have. Sherry is one of the new event chairs. Penny Fraley is the other chair, and she had planned to be here tonight, but her work had a last-minute schedule change. But Sherry can take away and tell you a little bit about the event. I can tell there's a lot of great things planned.
We actually have a lot of really great events. So Relay for Life is not a race. It's not a run. It is an all-night event. We are there from 6 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning. And yes, I'm very old, but I do stay up for the entire time.
So do I, so do I.
Yep, she is too. There are games for kids. There are games for adults, like the Frozen T-shirt contest, which is very awesome. And we do it after dark, so it's cold. There are so many things to do. We have food trucks there. We have music. So what is Relay? Relay is a community of people who have come together to fight this disease. This doesn't make me emotional, okay? To fight this disease that has taken so many people away from us. We all have our personal reasons for why we do it, but we all have to fight. And that's what we're doing. It's our one night that we say cancer can't win. And I'm so thrilled you're going to be there this year.
Yes.
I do this every time, you guys. I cry way too much.
And because I also need to give a shout out to one of our teams. Now, the Prescott Valley PD has participated a lot. They're back on board this year, and I love their name this year.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's Blue Goes Purple, because the color of Relay is purple for overall cancer awareness and survivorship. So we're very excited to have our police department out there as well supporting
And you
our
guys will
event.
sign up, right?
I'm sure they're already on there, so.
I can stay.
No, not you. No, you're gonna stay.
Lori, you're not in it, don't worry. You can stay, Lori. We love you.
And Prescott Valley's very own Casey Danner will be DJ Danner that evening, as he always is. So keep that in mind. He brings the fun. Next up is a certificate in our service award for Board of Adjustment Service Award, Linda Bear Shimon, for her time on our Board of Adjustment. So Bear, come on down.
Bear Shimon was appointed to the Board of Adjustment on July 27, 2006, and has served faithfully for 17 years. Mrs. Shimon also volunteers on several law enforcement committees in honor of her late husband's law enforcement career. She has always been generous with her time and talents, bringing light and life to many incredible charitable and community endeavors. Her vast knowledge of Board of Adjustment procedures allowed her to excel in the position as chair and to mentor her fellow board members. Mrs. Shimon's contributions to the town of Prescott Valley will have a lasting effect on future volunteers. We would like to take this opportunity to thank her for many years of service.
Very briefly, I'm going to press the Prescott Valley play tape. Chuck and I were blessed to live from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast. I've never been happier in a town, in a municipality. Prescott Valley is a wonderful place to live. To see Christy, who literally took us when we were like Play-Doh on the Board of Adjustment and shaped us into a cohesive body. Fernando Gonzalez is inspirational. I remember being interviewed by Fran Schumacher and Laura Lee and Mike Flannery. I was on the Board of Adjustment when a lot of you were in high school, but it's been a pleasure to serve. Thank you so much for the town you afford us. This is a great place to live and work. Thank you all. Thank you.
We love and we love and appreciate you, Bear. You didn't hear me. Bear, we love and appreciate you.
Next up, call of the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must register their names with the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. The council's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. Clerk?
Patricia Betzold.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm Patricia Betzold, 3883 North Fairfax Road, Granville, Prescott Valley. I'm addressing the Attainable Housing Report in addition to some words I shared at a previous meeting, and also the supplemental material that's been added in the packet from the study session earlier today. So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, what is the real goal here? The town has recently added some more information in the packet that I think was an attempt to help clear up what the intent of the report was. Again, they repeated that the definition of attainable housing is that the housing is affordable when it consumes no more than 30% of a household's gross pre-tax income. But then it also cites the 383 unfilled positions reported in Prescott Valley for YRMC East, the police and fire departments, the school district, and the town. So one of my questions is the report stating that these potential employees of the town are actually the target of the report and that they need to be placed in affordable housing? It goes on to then target household incomes of $35,000 to $49,999 in 237 households, I assume as a sampling, since our population, when the report was done, is much greater than that. But then it seems to ignore the 2006 households on that same table that make less than 35,000. So that is also confusing to us. Further, it then provides the average salaries provided by the town of Prescott Valley for the 383 unfilled positions mentioned above, ranging from approximately $47,000 to up to $83,000 for nurses. Okay, so teachers are on the bottom at $47,000, nurses are on top. And again, it's hard to understand what is the target of the report because they seem to be talking about two groups of people. One of the other things that is a concern is that there are assumptions being made about single family or single income families. And quite frankly, it's assuming that all the potential employees are living in a single family income. And that's a huge assumption to make. And number two, that anyone in this country should actually be able to afford housing if they have a single income. Now, I don't personally know anybody that is surviving on a single income. In order to own a home, you typically have to have two incomes. So the report goes on, and the additional information added, one of the most illuminating statements, I thought, was that it stated that of the 4,200 housing units created in the town of Prescott Valley.
Ma'am,
I'm sorry.
I'd wrap it up a little bit.
Okay, the households with 65-plus year old folks actually gained 4,300 housing units of those housing units, so in that same period of time. So what it's reflecting is that the town is approving developments for these dual income retirees to come into the town. Are we done?
So what I'd suggest, ma'am, is our door is always open. So I encourage you to please just contact our office, the 928-759-3100 number.
Okay.
And maybe we can sit down and have more of a discussion and
Okay.
give you a little bit more time and hopefully be able to answer all of your questions.
Yeah, and I'm only asking that the town take a pause before approving the attainable housing report and make sure they take into account General Plan 2035, our water challenges, our infrastructure challenges, et cetera. Thank you.
Clerk?
Ralph Moore,
Welcome, sir. I said welcome.
Hit this button?
No. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Honorable Mayor and hardworking members of the City Council. My name is Ralph Moore and I reside in Stone Ridge community of Prescott Valley. I'm here today to make you aware of a noise and serious safety problem we have within the Stone Ridge community. The Daily Courier newspaper services the houses in the community within the Stone Ridge community. The Daily Courier services the newspaper delivery 5 days a week within the housing project. We have a delivery individual who has a blatant disregard for the safety and noise within the community. I've been watching this individual for approximately 6 months for every morning between 3 and 4 a.m. I can hear his car coming from almost a half a mile away, and he does not stop at any of the posted stop signs, nor does he even slow down. I don't even see brake lights coming on. I can see 4 stop signs from my master bedroom window that he runs continuously each and every day at high speeds. His car is loud and disruptive to a lot of residents in the community and wakes up most of the people that have a newspaper delivered to their home. These deliveries take place between 3 and 4 a.m., 5 days a week, and he awakens most residents. I started my inquiry at the HOA, and I was told by the HOA, and this is Stone Ridge HOA, that it's a public street and they have no way of enforcing anything on it. My next call was to the Daily Courier. What I was trying to do was save this kid from getting an expensive ticket or killing or hurting an animal. So my first call to the Daily Courier, she said it would be passed along to the supervisor of the circulation department. 2 weeks passed and the racing and the noise continued. The second call to the Daily Courier, I asked to speak to a supervisor, and the supervisor stated that they were private contractors and there was nothing she could do about it. So my next call then was to the police department. I spoke to an officer in charge of traffic on the day shift. He stated to me that he would pass the information along to the graveyard supervisor. He also stated that they didn't have any officers available on the graveyard shift to enforce traffic violations, that they were too busy answering domestic dispute calls. 2 weeks passed and the unsafe situation still continued. My second call to the police department was handled in the same way. The officer I spoke to stated that they have a manpower shortage and training new officers was very hard. At this point, I was becoming disenchanted as to where to turn to stop this individual from either killing himself or someone else and awakening each and every one with his loud car noises. My next stop was to approach the mayor, who I spoke to at the Stone Ridge Council meeting. Let's see. After our discussion about this matter, this is what brings me to the council meeting. The mayor asked me to show up at the council meeting and tell them basically what we've been going through in Stone Ridge for the last 6 months. The paper delivery individual has turned our streets into his personal racetrack with a blatant disregard for safety and the peace and quiet of our neighborhood. This is something that is predictable, so it's preventable. The individual needs to be stopped before the inevitable accident happens. I have many videos of this individual running through the stop signs at high rates of speed.
Understand, sir. The individual, the chief's in the back there. You would just stop by, give him your information, and I'm confident the chief will be able to figure out a strategy to help you and the rest of the residents out there in Stone Ridge.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for coming out.
So anyway, this individual needs to be stopped. It's going to happen. So thank you for your time and your attention to this matter. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Clerk?
Don Frazier?
Welcome, sir. Good to see you
Good
here.
evening. I'm coming around a public safety situation myself, but I would first like to, if I'm not mistaken, our Councilman Brendan Dickinson's birthday. Happy birthday to you. I am currently living over in Sungate 1, of 3 buildings off of Civic Drive. To cross Scout Boulevard is like taking a trip into hell, if you don't mind my language. There's no crosswalk painted there, and I'm requesting there be one and associated signs. And that an officer would check on it after that for a short period of time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I believe you've called in before in regards to that, in regards to crosswalk accessibilities. So staff will be following up and discuss more with you, sir. Clerk?
No one else, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to council communications. Start on the end. Councilwoman Hepperly?
Thank you. I don't have any current events to talk about, but I just wanted to, if you did not, so we had a study session right before this. It started at 4. And if you did not catch it, I highly recommend finding it on YouTube and watching it, because we spent an hour going over the Attainable Housing Task Force report, and you can read that online on our newly revamped website, so you definitely want to check that out. But I just want to give a shout out to Vice Mayor Hunt and everybody who worked on that. And it was, I mean, she'll tell you that it was her responsibility, but it's out of the goodness of her heart and compassion for her community, and the fact that she wants everybody who wants to live and work in Prescott Valley to have a home. And that's literally her agenda. And that's her own personal time and work and effort that she put into that, bringing the group. I know it was a group effort, but she made that group happen. And so I just want to make sure that everybody takes the time to read it. I read the report, and I am the one that did the final edit. So if you find any grammatical errors, you can blame me. Don't blame her, but definitely read it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hepperly, you want to touch on Flynn Brown? Oh, all right.
Thank
Vice
you.
Mayor.
Thank you, April. I want to give a shout out to our 3 legislators up here for a great job on Highway 69. It's not bumpy anymore. I don't know if you've noticed, and it's being done pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. So I appreciate that. Shout out to Legislator Wynn, Bliss, and Bennett. Thank you. I also want to give a shout out to Chloe Hepperly, because she's graduating, and also to Helen Leva, who's graduating. We have our little families up here is graduating 2 seniors from high school. So, and a big shout out to Prescott Valley Councilwoman April Hepperly for being selected for the 2023 Flynn Brown Fellowship. So the Flynn Brown experience begins for the newest fellowship in August. So she is going to attend a rigorous 11-session policy institute offering unparalleled opportunities for professional connections and learning about Arizona policy and politics, facilitated by top state leaders and subject matter experts. And so I'm really proud of her because she is going to be using her own time and volunteering to be going to these classes. And everything she learns is going to be coming back to Prescott Valley and this dais to make us better. And so it was very competitive, and she got picked to be on this fellowship. So it's really good for us that she's doing this. And I also want to thank the Arizona Community Foundation, who invited us, council, to a dinner last week. And they are a big philanthropic organization in Arizona who funds a lot of nonprofit organizations. They've funded Humboldt Education Foundation, classroom grants. I've applied for grants for our classrooms. They've also funded our Parks and Rec department. And I know April is looking at maybe the Storybook Gardens, and I am going to be looking at some more Parks and Rec Foundation grants. So it was a very beneficial dinner for us to go to, and we're hopeful that we will be bringing more money through the Arizona Foundation back to Prescott Valley in grants. And so I'm very excited about that. Thank you all for being here, and please read the Attainable Housing Report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I usually don't make any comments during this portion of the program, but tonight I feel like I need to just give a shout out and a thank you. I'm going to piggyback on what the Vice Mayor said in regards to our state legislatures and what they've done down in Phoenix to help benefit the town of Prescott Valley. For those of you that haven't heard, we are receiving almost $10 million for the improvement of Glassford Hill Road, as well as another $3.5 million towards the purchase of open space to be combined with Prescott and Yavapai County. So our legislatures, they work tirelessly, and I think a lot of times we take them for granted. And I personally want to thank each and every one of them for what they do. And I know I'm speaking on behalf of the town of Prescott Valley's residents when I say thank you for all the work. I know a lot of it is taken for granted, and we have legislatures that drive down literally every day while it's in session from their homes here in Yavapai County. So it says a lot about their dedication and their commitment to our community. So when you see them out and about, please, please, please make sure you give them a smile, a handshake, and a warm welcome for what they do to help benefit Prescott Valley. Councilwoman?
I just also wanted to make mention that if you have ideas that we can implement, please bring those ideas forward, especially with affordable housing. Sometimes we're going to work study, but maybe you have another idea that maybe we could also implement. So if you have those ideas, please bring them forward. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to our Prescott Valley Police Department. They currently have one of the police dogs that is running for the Aftermath program, and it's where he will be competing against other dogs in Arizona for the grant money, and I believe it's up to $15,000 this year. So if you get a chance, please visit the Prescott Valley Police Department's website, or you can contact me if you want to. I'll share it with you. They're looking for you to vote for him daily so that he can be in the running for this great program. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. To piggyback on the mayor as well, Representative Nguyen was also able and instrumental in getting funds from ADOT to resurface Highway 69 from Stone Ridge down to Truewood. And so he's been very, very instrumental in helping our community and our roads, and we're so very grateful. I wanted to thank the Cardinals for coming to Prescott Valley yesterday. We had a fan day for them at Mountain Valley Park, and it was the response was incredible. They gave away over 500 t-shirts and 400 water bottles, and they were giving signing people's their personal belongings, from footballs to T-shirts to jackets, and taking pictures with everybody. It was, they had a couple of cheerleaders there and a couple of players from the team there, and of course their support staff. And it was an incredible event from 4 to 6 p.m. And we are so grateful for them being here and hope they come back soon. And also I wanted to remind everybody that we do have 4th of July coming up, and we will be, as the mayor says, the only, on his Mondays with the mayor, the only town in the northern part of Arizona that will be celebrating on Tuesday, July 4th. And we have the Red, White, and Boom, July 4th from 3 p.m. to 9:30, food trucks, activities, and of course fireworks. So be sure and put that on your calendar and come out and enjoy it with everybody. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
I just want to remind everyone to come and join us for the Memorial Day celebration on Monday, starting at 9 a.m.
Councilwoman, you want to share where that will be at? Where the celebration will be, not celebration, but where the Memorial Day event will be? Thank you, ma'am. Town Manager Davidson?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the only thing to add tonight is we are adding a special meeting for the end of June. So it's going to be June 29th at 5:30. It's to deal with a number of wrap-up issues before the end of the fiscal year. And then all of July, the council will not be in session. So we're going to add one additional meeting to try to capture some late-minute items, and wanted to make sure you and the public were aware.
Thank you, sir. Item 8, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the town council, will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, we've all had a chance to review. If there's no item that needs to be removed, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve all the items listed under the consent agenda by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 9, amending the marijuana performance standards, COA 23-002. Mr. Ruby.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff has no additional comments in regards to the second reading of ZOA 23-002. Be glad to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Ruby in regards to this? I'll entertain a motion. I'm sorry, this is a second reading, isn't it? Clerk, would you please?
Ordinance number 2023-922, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, adopting by reference that certain document, amendments to Town Code Chapter 13, medical marijuana dispensaries and marijuana establishments, declared by resolution number 2023-2311 to be a public record, amending Chapter 13 zoning to eliminate maximum square footage requirements and expand operating hours for both medical marijuana dispensaries and marijuana establishments, providing that all other chapters, articles, and sections of the town code not herein repealed or amended shall remain in full force and effect, providing that if any provision in this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining provisions shall not be affected, but shall continue in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall this ordinance pass?
That passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. You're doing a great job. Item 10, tentative town budget, fiscal year 23-24. Ms. Pale?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Back on May 4th, we met to discuss the tentative or the projected budget for this next fiscal year 2023-24. And since then, we have made some changes before the tentative adoption that we bring before you tonight. So some of those changes, can you hear me okay? Sorry. All right. So some of those changes include adding 2 school resource officer positions. We were notified that Humboldt Unified School District had received grants to where they will be funding those 2 positions 100%. So we wanted to make sure that we wouldn't strip away the patrol capacity of our current pool of officers. So those were added, as well as adding a advertising pilot program to help recruitment for officers. That would be through a cable TV program. And then increasing cleanup day. After our cleanup day event, we found that we had significantly needed more than what we had budgeted, so we needed to add some capacity in for next year. And then additional carryovers and adjustments for this next year for projects and equipment that was expected to be completed in the current fiscal year that is now not expected to be completed before June 30th. So we need to roll those budget dollars to the next year. And then on a positive note, we have revenues that are in excess of what we had presented previously, including $2.4 million additional revenue from the state of Arizona that you all had mentioned previously, and a contribution from the county for Glassford Hill, as well as the state for the Glassford Hill. So that actually had a net positive impact on the budget we presented to you previously of $6.7 million. And here is a detailed list of the carryover and adjustments that we would like to include in the tentative budget. And I won't go through the whole list, but they consist of mostly equipment and vehicles, as well as professional service studies and such that'll carry over to the next year. And it was offset slightly by a decrease in the YMCA contribution. It wasn't a decrease to their contribution, just in the amount that we thought we would need for next year. And with that, the tentative budget adoption today will lead us to the next stage, which is the publication for the public hearing. And then the final budget adoption will be June 22nd, and potentially we'll come back on June 29th for possible review and approval of the class and comp results and how that'll impact various departments. And with that, are there any questions, or would anyone like additional information?
Vice Mayor?
I have a couple clarifications. Can you go
Yes,
back
absolutely.
2 slides, please? There we go. So the expenditures, particularly school resource officer, which I think is fabulous, those will be ongoing expenses.
Correct. The school resource officers are covered through the grant for 3 years, I believe. And then following that period, we would have to consider whether or not those would remain school resource officers. Perhaps there's additional funding that we could obtain for carrying on that presence. Otherwise, it might be something where at that point we need to look at absorbing those positions back into patrol.
Got it. So we're $250 a year for 3 years.
It's the cost of the officers. So essentially, yes.
Perfect. And then the revenues were all one time.
Correct. Other than that, the revenues were all one-time revenues. So it increased our one-time position. Our general fund recurring position was already strong, and that didn't adjust much. It was just the one time where we're looking more favorably.
Excellent. All good news. And then the next slide. So these that we're carrying over the expense and the revenue.
Yes, for some of these, we've already received revenues for specific revenues like the YMCA contribution that we're decreasing. But any of basically the funds aren't getting spent this year.
Right.
So we're putting them aside for next year, correct?
I thought, just for clarification. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else for Councilwoman?
I am happy to see the 18,000 to Sparklight on there. We actually had a couple of the Sparklight advertising gurus at the last illegal fentanyl working group meeting, and they are brilliant when it comes to, I mean, they really do their research and know exactly how to create those ads and get them out there. And I have heard a little bit about that whole situation unofficially as well, so I'm glad that it's happening. Thank you.
Anything else, council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2023-2317, adopting the tentative budget for the town of Prescott Valley for fiscal year 2023-24, and giving notice of a public hearing June 22nd, 2023, by electronic vote.
Have a second? Clerk, please call the vote.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 10B, Microtransit Operations and Oversight Contract Amendment. Mr. Rodriguez, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for having me. I'm here before you today to discuss for the approval of 3 agreements through June 2025, utilizing CARES Act funding. So these 3 agreements or contracts are with 3 different companies. The first one I'll be discussing will be the contract amendment with New Horizons. The second will be a transition to different microtransit software. And then the third will be the purchase of 3 wheelchair accessible vehicles for our service. Again, all these 3 contracts will be through the finalization of our CARES Act grant. So New Horizons, we will be doing a contract increase of about $750,819. This is to allow us to increase our service level. So currently we're at capacity. This will give us that room to provide more rides based upon our demand. The other piece, as we've discussed in the past, the taxi oversight will not be included. And then finally, the insurance requirements have also changed. We're actually going to be saving some funds and therefore putting those funds back into providing trips. So that's thanks to the town manager as well as our legal department for doing that. So for New Horizons, we have a total contract cost again through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $1,763,262 for the service of microtransit here in Prescott Valley. Any questions regarding this?
Council, any questions? Is there you want to just keep going with what you have?
Sure, and we can do it at the end.
Then we'll just vote at the end.
Okay, perfect. So secondly, is our microtransit software. So we are transitioning from our current provider being QRide over to Via Mobility. Our current provider, unfortunately, hasn't been able to meet our requirements in our scope, and so we are transitioning to this other software. Again, the point of the software is to be able to provide a booking platform for our riders, our dispatch, being able to coordinate those rides, and for the driver to be able to get the directions to get to those trips. So those are the three modules that they will be providing, and this is piggybacking off of the cooperative contract that the city of Chandler has currently for their own microtransit. It's called the Flex, and this agreement is in the amount of $77,500 for a 2-year service through June 2025. And here's a list of some of the improvements that you'll see with the mobile app that we currently do not have or have part of. So one of them being being able to track your vehicle on the app. You can have the option of virtual bus stops, which will increase our efficiency and decrease our cost per rider. The app will have multiple languages, and the list kind of goes on. But the Via Mobility, they have provided services all over the world. They've provided 115 million trips via their mobile app. And there are 3 other municipalities here in Arizona that are using Via Mobility. One of them, obviously, Chandler, Glendale, and Sun City. And this, so it's been tried. We've all kind of, these other municipalities, we've all started around the same time doing microtransit, and this seems to be the best option for us. We've also looked at other opportunities such as RideCo, which also holds a big market share for this service with cooperative ability with the city of Avondale, Goodyear, and Surprise. So unfortunately, their costs were a little higher, but both of these solutions are very comparable. Via came out; they really want to partner with the town, and I think their proposal shows it. So,
Sir, with this, will riders that currently have the app, will that affect them? Will they have to download a new app? Or
yes, so there will be part of the marketing or this transition will be that push toward our current riders to utilize the new app. We will be sending out emails, letting them know in the vehicles, most likely posting it on social media and various outlets to make sure that everyone can transition and does it appropriately.
Excellent.
I have a question. Pedro, thank you for this. So I read in the staff report, it said off the shelf, which leads me to
Yes.
believe that it's probably user-friendly.
Yes.
And as affordable as what we were doing before.
Mhm.
So how soon are we going to launch this?
So our timeline is July 19th for full transition. So they've conducted many implementations and they're sticking to their guns on July 19th. We have a buffer with our current provider of August 31st in case if we do need that, but they say it's not necessary, that they're willing to implement on July 19th.
So Javi's going to have to be fitted with a Via t-shirt or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that'll be
I can
good.
hardly wait to download it, so let us know too, will
Yes.
you? Thank you very much for all you do.
Excellent. And then the third item for you today, I have the purchase of wheelchair accessible vehicles. Again, this is to provide us with, or to be able to address our current demand with that flexibility, as I've mentioned. So we're looking at purchasing 3 vehicles for $235,617 via the Arizona State contract that we've purchased the first 2 in the first place. So these are 6 or 7 passenger vehicles with wheelchair capability. These are, again, for short trips. We're averaging about 3, or our trip distance is about 3 miles, 2.8 miles. And so these are in and out, going inside of parking lots. With our current average seating per trip, we will definitely be able to utilize these vehicles to their maximum capacity. So,
Great. Thank you, sir. Anything else on this topic?
Had a question. On the packet that we received, I was reading where these vehicles come from Chino. Is it Chino, California?
yes, from CalAct. Yeah.
So they were allowing, was it 75,000 to transfer them?
Yeah, the total cost per vehicle is almost 78,000. Yes. Yeah, definitely increased in cost from what we've seen before. There's requirements with Buy America, where Buy America requirements tell you that you need to have a certain percentage of American-made parts. So the outfitter has to basically make the vehicles more expensive to be compliant with Buy America. And then you have also the supply chain issues that we have, and inflation.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. course.
There's no further questions. I'll take a motion on item 10B.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve a second amendment to contract T510.2 for microtransit operations and maintenance with New Horizons Disability Empowerment Center, NHDEC, in the amount of $750,818.85 by electronic vote.
Can I have a second? Clerk, please call the vote.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I have a motion for item 10C?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve, oh, it just went off the screen.
Someone have their paper form? Oh, we're back.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve agreement T510.4 microtransit software as a service SaaS with Via Mobility LLC in the amount of $77,500 by electronic vote.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item, 10D. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the State of Arizona Cooperative Agreement CTR 054848 with Creative Bus Sales, Inc. for 3 wheelchair-accessible transit vehicles in the amount of $235,617 by electronic vote.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, last item, 10E, MOU, Prescott Valley Police Officers Association. Mr. Davison.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, first would like to recognize with us Sergeant Tony Lawrence, who's the president of the Prescott Valley Police Officers Association. He and I have had the opportunity earlier this year to work on the annual agreement, memorandum of understanding that we have. And this was a great year. I want to thank Sergeant Lawrence for his leadership and for the board that also works with him. There were 2 things I'd like to highlight. First, we wanted to make sure that there was alignment with our new evaluation system that we are implementing across the town. So we are moving away from the antiquated annual evaluations to a much more engaging process. So for the public, evaluations should be every day. We have to give our all every single day. So we wanted to make sure that that was incorporated as part of the language with the MOU. The only way, whether it's a police officer or anyone within our organization, to not get any merit increases that's been approved through the budget process is if they're violating town personnel policies or any of our code of ethics. So if they've been written up throughout the year for that, we also have an opportunity for them to redeem themselves. So after 6 months, they can appeal it back to their department head and then have that reviewed. So that was agreed to. And then the second thing is we've got a number of officers that become, highly trained and proficient in particular areas within law enforcement. And so they become what's called a subject matter expert. And we wanted to make sure that we pay for their time and energy to not only master whatever the topic is, but they're providing training and instructional services back to their colleagues. And so we are accommodating that as a stipend basically that's provided every pay period for them. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Davidson? Sergeant Lawrence, nice job. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding with the Prescott Valley Police Officers Association for fiscal year 2023-24 by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. And if you haven't had enough today, we have CFD meeting in about 5 minutes, so you're more than welcome to join us for that.